coffee, but
All right.
we'll start
I'm
with
going
it.
for a walk and placing my ass down on a bench somewhere. So
All right, cool. So, um, let's see. You smoke cigarettes.
I do.
You smoke American spirits.
Yep.
Why do you like American spirits?
Because they claim that they have natural tobacco with no additives, and I don't know. I'm going to do it anyways, but I might as well do it as healthy as possible.
Okay, makes
And
sense.
they smoke longer.
They do smoke longer for sure. Okay. Uh, do you exercise?
That's a good question. Yes. Um, Not during the summer, really. I get pretty depressed and stuck in my room because it's so hot out in like California. But I like to cycle, and I like to go on walks,
Where in
and I'll
California are
do
you?
I'll do calisthenics and stuff like push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups. Um, but I kind of just do it to maintain some health. I'm not really looking for anything aesthetic or um, yeah, I don't have fitness goals.
Do you live in LA?
No, I live in Davis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do you go to college there?
I'm off and on at Sac City right now because four-year universities are pretty expensive, and I don't know what the fuck I'm doing out here. So why would I waste money on something that I might not enjoy for my life, I guess?
Do you have a very clear sense of what you'd like to do in life?
Um, I've been asking myself that a lot recently. I'm 21 and I'm still living at home because it's cheap and just that's how it worked out with school. But I have to make a decision right now whether I continue with school as I'm doing it now, or if I just move out and then figure out classes and stuff when I'm on my own. But back to your question, I like to write, and I don't want to get my hopes up as far as making it a career or anything, but it would be cool to do that. So I guess
What kinds of
I'm
do you like to write?
content.
Fiction? Fiction? Non-fiction?
Um, I like to write fiction and I guess more descriptively like philosophical fiction, getting into psychology sometimes as well. I like to write poetry too. But I think what I figured out though is I am totally fine working whatever job and just enjoying life because I'm kind of a minimalist and I don't really need that many things to be happy. And so what I really need to be happy is just free time and time to be on my own and do things that I want to do.
All right. Finish the following four-line poem. Okay. First two, I'm going to give you the first two lines and ask you to finish the poem. First two lines are this. You're so retarded when it comes to clothes, it makes me want to punch you in the nose.
But I won't do that because I'm a happy guy and I understand that I'm not following an AABB prose.
Okay, that's pretty good finish. Nicely done.
Yeah, very nicely done. You circumvented my metered verse test in that fashion.
You got nervous at the end, I could tell, Eric.
I was just seeing where he was going with it. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I would have been like, because I'm just so goddamn fly, or because I know that it would make you cry. I don't know.
The thing is, I was also checking to
his
see.
was brilliant.
Yeah, his was brilliant.
Yeah, he was brilliant for sure. I was also checking to see how comfortable you were with meter. So it sounds like do you ever write with meter and rhyme when you write poetry?
Yes. I mean, I don't. When I write, I don't follow any specific like structure, but in the writing of it, I'll pin it down to a structure. So I don't start thinking I want this to rhyme and I want there to be the same amount of syllables in every line. It just kind of happens.
Okay.
I focus more on the imagery that I put out, I guess.
Okay. Would you say then that your poems are more? Would this be accurate? Your poems are more descriptive than political?
Yes.
Are they more descriptive or philosophical?
Philosophical.
Let's do some TI checking. So, can you tell me who my mother's sister's husband's son is in relation to me?
Cousin.
Right. How about my grandmother's husband's only daughter's only son?
You.
Right. I'm going to give you 2 pieces of a syllogism, and I want you to provide the missing generalization. An example would be, you can't come in here, you don't have a cowboy hat. The missing generalization is, only people with cowboy hats are allowed in.
Okay.
So I'll give you one here. You must hate tomatoes. You're from Scandinavia.
People from Scandinavia hate tomatoes.
You have to have a quantifier, though. All, only, or no.
All people from Scandinavia hate tomatoes.
Okay. How about, Judy must be good at math. Her father's an astrophysicist.
Children of astrophysicists. All children of astrophysicists are good at math. Well, no.
Yeah, that would be correct, actually.
Yeah,
Right.
that was fair.
That's right. All right, so is this valid or invalid? Only banana lovers eat banana splits at ice cream stores. And Judy is a banana lover, therefore she's eating a banana split at an ice cream store.
I mean, she loves bananas, but she doesn't have to eat a banana split. If she goes to the ice cream store, she would just... If she was eating a banana split at an ice cream store, she would necessarily have to be a banana lover, but she can still choose otherwise.
Right, okay, correct.
All right.
I would never want to be in a relationship with this guy.
What a wonderful comment.
Why in the world would you not want to be in a relationship?
He doesn't miss a beat.
No, he doesn't miss a beat, does he?
And look at it, he smokes a cigarette too.
He's like, yeah, I don't want to be in a relationship with you either, honey.
That's not what I meant, Stacy.
But, you see, I'm pretty sure, unlike our last typing, that this guy is not. Do you think... Are you thinking the same as last?
Well, do you want me to tell you what I've gotten on tests and stuff?
No.
Not yet. I think, yeah.
What? As the last?
No, not the same as the last.
Okay.
I think... Hold on a second.
I don't know what you're saying.
Hold on one second.
All right.
I think he's your type. Actually.
Yeah, that's
I think
what
he's
he
an
thinks.
INTP.
Oh, I think it might be an ISTP.
No.
I think it's possible.
All right, let's test his INI.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so we actually are not on exactly the same page here, Spacey and I. So we're gonna do
I'm
some.
totally down with that.
Yeah.
Can you give me 5 synonyms for the word disturbed?
Disturbed, tainted, plagued,
He's
insane,
a poet. That's
I
like
guess.
she's cheating.
What's a
Those
what's
aren't
a
really synonyms for disturbed.
what
anyway.
can you say you talk about like philosophical poems? What aspects of philosophy are you philosophizing about?
I like talking about concepts of time, and if I were to cut it down to a few words, it's really just about time. But existence, I guess. Existence in time. I don't know.
Well, how about this? Why are you interested in philosophy? Can you pinpoint like a time where it's
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
I grew up in a Christian home, and for a long time, I think around elementary school, I figured out Pascal's wager on my own time, and so that kept me going through high school, I guess. And then in high school, the non-connection to whatever that God is was getting to me, and so I was asking more questions. And then
Are you sure
The
that
first
wasn't
year-
just the power of Christ compelling you?
it wasn't.
He's pretty
Well,
certain
no,
of that.
symbolically, sure, but I don't speak that language or that story.
Oh, you're not
But
telling that story, huh?
Oh, okay.
Dun dun dun.
Well, would you agree with the following thing? The stories we tell come true.
Yes. Because our attention is to where the stories guide them, I guess. And so if you're actively thinking about those things, you will start to see those things happen. But it's not to say that that's the only thing that's coming true or the only thing that's happening.
No,
Right?
it's not. Just so. I mean, there's a relationship between reality and the
I
stories
was just
we
gonna
tell.
say there is reality.
There is a relationship between the reality and the stories we tell. But the thing is, reality provides us a smorgasbord of opportunities of things to focus on. And if we continually reinforce the negatives and reinforce the possible awfulnesses and stuff like that, then that's what's going to comprise the majority of our attention, and that's naturally what's going to be put
Still
out
can't
as well.
avoid the latter.
Okay, well, anyway, we're not here. Kimberly and I are not here to have a fight.
Yeah, all right. Can you guys shut up? I want to ask you something else.
We'll go back. And so that first semester of college after high school, I was exploring philosophy because there's this essentially hole in my, I guess, self or
Bucket.
individual
There's a
because
hole
I
in
was
your
no
bucket.
longer Christian. And I think it's something about the challenging aspect of philosophical concepts, as well as the imagery that it produces is pretty vivid. And so I just like talking about and thinking about the deeper meaning of things and the symbolism of things.
Is there a certain philosophy that you could say that you might subscribe to, or like certain philosopher or philosophers that you particularly enjoy?
Hold on, before you answer that question. The word is ascribe.
That I ascribe my...
You do not subscribe to a
Oh,
philosophy.
sorry. Yeah, you're right. I misworded.
I've heard people
Yeah.
do that night.
Yeah, people do it a lot. You're right.
but
You can
I
subscribe
always
to
wanna
a
say
million
something, but,
philosophies.
Okay, you guys don't
Which
get to
one do
fight.
I
Let's
live
let him
out?
do his typing.
me relax, baby. Friend.
I mean, I've focused more on existentialism and absurdism. So when I first started, I got into determinism, and just like a very binary black and white kind of thing, like things either are or they are not. And
But then the rancid stink of TE started to get to you.
I don't know.
Or maybe the rancid stink of SI.
Yeah, I wanted to.
Right.
So you went from determinism and you eventually set that aside because you thought it was too mechanical? Or
Oh, no. No, I'm waiting for someone to counter-argue me out of the illusion of free will and say that it is real.
I see.
Okay, well, why would... there's a very simple argument as to why. Conditionality exists. Conditionality and free will are the same thing. If I'm able to conditionally consider...
Right, but it's an illusion.
How is that an
Like,
illusion?
it's not, because it's not the whole picture. It's just...
But conditionality means I can imagine taking one course and what might happen, and imagine taking another course and what might happen.
Right, but you
That
take
is
one course.
Sure, but it's the process of choice that's free will, not the preservation of no choice.
Sure. I need to be counter-argued out of it. I think I need to go to like the molecular, the atomic, the quantum level.
That's never going to...
At the quantum level, determinism is easily destroyed. Because the thing is, determinism neglects the fact that the fundamental force of ontology is observation. It's not any other physical force.
Right.
So there's no way to sustain determinism at the quantum level at all. You can only sustain it remotely at the macro level, and even then, you're ignoring the fact that chaotic systems render it meaningless to say something's deterministic, because not all systems are reducible. Not all.
Oh, well.
And in fact,
I mean,
and you're also rendering causality itself meaningless by embracing the notion of over-causality, saying things can have a complex web of causation without being able to reduce it to specific causal influences. It doesn't mean anything, because causality means that which we can exclude from the equation would have not produced the same outcome. So it's not even causality you're talking about. But I don't mean to argue with you about philosophy.
I'm still resolute. That didn't convince me. But
Okay,
yeah, this is a whole nother conversation.
I
though.
appreciate that fact. I'm not trying to convince you. I would point out that there's no reason to be resolute without a rebuttal.
Right.
That's true.
So let's
Well-
get on to the typing, and you guys can actually set up.
This
a
is
really
part of
cool
the
debate.
typing.
This is part of the typing.
It's true.
He said that's true. That means he's definitely not FI above TI, right?
That's good to know
He could
because
conceivably be an INFP.
But look, he went from resolute to that's true
Right.
in
Exactly.
one breath.
I agree with that.
That's
That
a
is-
TI dom.
Yeah, that is a TI dom, knowing when he is right and when he is wrong at the most fundamental level.
And knowing when his resoluteness is comprised of NI holistic truths that can't be reductively argued, which is what you're basically saying right now. So I'm not going to defend it because I can't reductively argue it because it's an NI composite truth that I'm at the moment enamored with. An accurate description of what's going on in your head or inaccurate?
fairly accurate. I mean, yeah, it would just take a lot more conversation, and we have a set goal here.
Hey, you got to do a lot more deliberation. I understand. Because you are an INTP.
Yeah, you're an INTP.
Is that what you thought you were?
I don't really know. I mean, I've gotten INTP, INFP, INTJ,
Yeah, me too.
and there have been moments where I've thought maybe ENFP also.
No, your TI is way too good.
Yeah, too good.
Way too good. You wouldn't be able to get those missing generalizations. You would say something like, well, but maybe you're from Iceland and you do like peanut butter. It's like they don't get the concept that we're defining the terms here, and then we're parsing out what we can conclude from the defining the terms. They don't get that at all because they're polar TI. There's zero chance you're going to get that.
Can you explain the place of least resistance to me? It doesn't make sense
Well,
in my head.
it means basically it's where you can be abused in some fashion and not know how to respond to it. So, for example, if I kept pushing on Spacey to do and do and do more and more and more, he'd let himself get pushed along. He'd get more and more resentful. Eventually, he'd blow up about it, and then he'd feel like he did something wrong because he doesn't get that how to process extroverted sensing on that level. Same thing with you.
What would an example of that be then?
Like,
It's basically people. I would explain it generally as people trying to direct their volitional pressure at you, trying to exert their will upon you and force you to do something according to their will, sort of.
you could also think of it as this: hurry up and do the thing before you're done thinking about it. Hurry up and agree
Right.
with me about this point right now
or you're
before
taking
you're
too
done
long,
deliberating
right.
about it.
You're taking too long. You're not doing enough. Do it now, or do more, or
And you'd be subject to that kind of pressure, but you'll also really not like it at all, and you'll not feel like you're in the right. You won't be able to feel like you can defend yourself. Listen, all I'm asking you to do is to do the basic steps that are required here for you to do shit, and you just be like, ugh.
Isn't that called having a boss?
Yeah, well, that's why INTPs don't need to have bosses in life. They shouldn't have them.
they really shouldn't.
They need to have partners. Like, Spacey and I are partnering. This process here is working well, and it's because I don't presume. You should never presume upon an INTP. They don't like it.
Yeah, that's true. I actually have the potential to be fired here because there's like a plumbing issue, and it was from the store next door, and they dug into the pipes over there, and the problem wasn't there, and so they had to come over to our store, and we had to get approval from like corporate or something. We couldn't just get approval from the district manager, and they were leading it on for like 5 days, and at that point the other store had to close down completely for 2 whole days. And so last night the plumber wasn't supposed to come, and they weren't supposed to work because we didn't have approval, and I just let it happen because the bureaucracy is retarded a little bit, and those people needed it fixed.
That's TE that you don't like, the bureaucracy.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, you especially don't like it when it's in like tool function style TE.
Right.
So that sounds like a very INTP thing to do. It's like you didn't actually do anything, but you realized that you made a
Right.
big decision,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And you understand all the implications of it eventually. So, and then you probably
Sometimes not doing anything is doing something too, though.
that's true, absolutely. And you probably also have in your head all the argumentation lines that you're going to make when called out on this, if called out on this.
Go.
Yep.
Oh my god, NTPs.
Oh my god.
We are absolutely the most lovable of all the types.
We really are. We're so damn cute.
Spacey, I am out of cigarettes, which means I really need to run to the store real quick and get a pack of cigarettes.
Sure.
Can you take over the seat here for a bit? I mean, we
Yeah.
got a lot of time left, and
Yeah,
I
we
didn't.
can.
I had you pegged pretty quick.
Yeah, it wasn't too
It
hard.
wasn't hard. You're a pretty obvious INTP. You're hanging with us ideationally about everything, no problem. And so when we got plenty more time to talk, and we can answer any of your questions or any of your follow-up
For
stuff
sure.
or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'll be right back. I gotta run to the store and get more cigarettes while Spacey fills in here.
Nothing's more important than cigarettes.
That's true.
At least we have someone here who understands.
Is my wallet in here?
So,
Hey, I've got a bowl of weed waiting for me sometime later tonight too.
oh, all right.
Exciting.
Well, feel free to jump in the raw rooms and smoke it up with us later.
Also, you know, I don't know if Spacey's willing, but he
Oh.
might be willing to transubstantiate one
Absolutely.
for you.
Should I use the shitty weed or the good weed?
No, you know, if there's any good weed left, I think you should use the good weed.
All right, all right. We got some of this animal mint left. This stuff is pretty dank. Yeah, it's common.
I
among-
recently
What's up?
came on to high CBD strains
Ah,
as opposed to, you know,
yeah.
absolutely potent THC quantities.
Well, when I hang with Eric, he just smokes so much that all he cares about is just how stony it is. You know. So
Yeah.
we mostly just smoke either high
But-
THC strains or mass quantities of mid shelf.
Yeah.
But what would you say you like about the high CBD strains in comparison?
If I get too much THC, I just start echoing negative thoughts more often.
You
So,
get too into your head, basically.
well, I mean, it's not really that. It's really just more. It's more turbulent inside my head, and so I'll still have higher THC strains if I'm alone, and what I want is an introspective experience and just kind of even cathartic, really. But it's not necessarily pleasant.
Right,
during-
that's just when you want to just fucking zone out, right? And then go to sleep maybe after. Basically.
No, it's usually more. It's usually more when I want to overpower my mind and really
right, so
get it
that's
running.
when you want to have a thinking sesh, basically.
More a thinking sesh about myself.
Right, and show, okay. Have you tried different drugs a lot, or...
Yeah.
Okay.
I last summer, I think in August, I tried psilocybin, and I didn't take very much, but I really liked the effect, like the lasting effects afterwards. And then I took LSD in November of last year,
hmm
and I also really liked those lasting effects were wonderful.
Yeah.
I was more confident and less fearful.
Yeah, INTPs, I feel like we seem to go one way or the other. Either we're super straight edge and we don't want to fuck with anything in our mental purity or whatever, or we turn into total psychonauts and we love to experiment and fuck with our heads. Like,
Yeah.
that's what I do.
Yeah, I was significantly affected during the LSD experience.
Yeah, but I will say I love hallucinogens myself. It's my favorite kind of drug.
Yeah.
I also like
So I
MDMA
plan-
a lot because it really helps with that feeling of being alone, of not being able to feel comfortable around other people.
Yeah.
It also feels really damn good because they call it ecstasy for a reason.
I've had a couple of friends try to get me onto it, and
It's not something you want to do very often, but
no.
you definitely love it.
Yeah, I have. So, when they were trying to get me to do it and, like, you know, giving me their best arguments, I was waiting for the right one.
Right.
And my ENFP friend described it as a nakedness of the ego,
Yeah.
as if you're walking around the Garden of Eden pre-shame and just
Yeah, you don't feel the need to hide
Open
anything from
and-
people.
yeah.
You'll say shit you would never normally say. Like, just like, oh my god, man, I love you so much. that kind of crap.
All right, I have relationship questions
Sure. Actually, let me
because
transubstantiate this
yes,
top shelf
get
bong
it
rip
on.
for you.
Hell yeah.
So what's your question?
Well, it's really more just like a general open-ended thing because I don't have specific questions. I just have observations of, I don't know, it's hard to find someone that's interesting and worth the time to put in,
Right.
you know?
Well, so I guess you're wondering really what do you do about the predicament, basically?
I don't know, just if you have any,
Right. Advice?
yeah.
Well, I met my first couple of girlfriends in a mental hospital. I don't recommend that. However, at the same time, it's easier for us to relate to people who are kind of fucked up, I guess. And it also gives you a nice case study for that interest in psychology of yours.
Yeah.
So I guess try to pay attention to red flags and avoid dating broken people just because you think it might be more interesting, I guess. We have a tendency to get bored.
Very.
Yeah, and so, but ironically, if you look at typology and stuff, theoretically, right, our dual is the ESFJ, which is like essentially the most basic bitch of all the types.
Mm-hmm.
But because what we need out of an intimate relationship really is not actually an interesting, intellectually stimulating partner, but someone who will take care of all of the shit that we don't know how to take care of. That will help us interface with people to achieve our goals, that will feed us and make sure that we go to bed on time, and shit like that.
Yeah.
Now, having said that, you could also do very well with another INTP. I would say of all the types, we probably tend to be more satisfied with another identical person a little bit more. The only problem with being with another INTP is you run into a situation where, like, you guys aren't really probably going to get a lot of shit done, and you're not probably going to do a whole lot of growing together. You know?
Yeah.
You kind of want a mutual growth thing where it's like sort of an opposites attract scenario, but not really opposites because you still share the same functions, just in the reverse order. So ideally, you're each seeking what the other person most has to offer. You could also do well with like an ENTP, like Eric. That would be maybe enough of an extrovert to at least be like, hey, let's go do something fun, you know?
Yeah.
Which is important to have in your life. But it's easy for us to get, intellectual stimulation just from our friends or whatever. It is what it is. You might basically, ideally, you want to hold out for that unicorn ESFJ who is still a fairly intelligent person, because they do exist. It's not like they're all stupid.
Yeah.
They just process things in a different way. So, you would want one who kind of checks some of your boxes a little more. Kind of your ideal ESFJ really would probably approach you. Like, you wouldn't even have to approach them.
That would certainly
They would
help.
just be very intrigued by you.
Yeah.
There would ideally be that kind of subtext going on, some kind of tension. But yeah, I tend to meet people on like the internet a lot, but at the same time, I don't use like Tinder or OkCupid or any of that shit. It's hard for us to be at places where we meet people, like,
Yeah.
Like I could find an ESFJ maybe if I went and like volunteered at an animal shelter, or if I went
Oh,
out in public and ever left my room. You know?
yeah.
So it's tough for us, though. It could be harder for us than any other type to be satisfied, to actually make that feeling of being alone actually go away.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely want someone where I can, like, I am alone, but they're in my presence, if that makes sense.
Right.
The awkward silence is no longer awkward.
Right.
Or,
Somewhere, yeah, where you don't have to talk to be
Yeah.
comfortable. Right. And that's exactly it. What we really want is, like, physical comfort.
yeah,
But we don't think about it a lot. And that's what, like, the ESFJ is supposed to be able to provide. It's like that emotional, physical spectrum of things.
yeah. I was talking to an INFP with the intent of, like, getting to know them and stuff.
We get along pretty well with INFPs.
Yeah, I was finding that we got along if we didn't talk about
Politics.
politics. Yeah,
That's what you'll... That's a funny thing about INFPs. A lot of the time, they can look like INTPs because they're very articulate, and well-spoken and deliberative. But once you get them to a point where they basically have to pick TI or FI, then they're going to pick FI every time. And
Yep.
you're going to quickly see their logic and rationality and composure break down. I don't know if you're familiar with that process.
yeah. I mean, I would see it happen. It happened pretty rapidly, though.
Yeah, very rapidly.
Yeah,
You just have to touch the right spot, the right pressure point.
yeah,
So that's basically, and I find honestly that as an INTP, I respect the INFP's FI more than the INFP seems to respect my TI. And unfortunately, I think that's just a consequence of leading with an interested calculus.
yeah,
So you have to be very, very, very delicate with them, or and it's just, and that's why it's hard for a long-term relationship to work out. Basically, it's like you're either going to be walking on eggshells, or you might as well just end it. Like,
yeah. I come to that
right.
point so very quickly with everybody that I meet.
Well, I mean, you're probably not wrong. I mean, at least a huge majority of the time. There's not really anything wrong with being picky. I mean, you may have to wait longer than most other types of people to, one, be in a place yourself where you're capable of being in a healthy relationship, and two, finding the right person. You're probably just gonna have to be patient, and wait until you manage to get yourself into the right place at the right time.
Yeah,
That's
that's what it's looking like.
right. Which sucks because honestly, I'll be honest. I get to a point sometimes where it's like, man, like what the fuck are you waiting for? Like I'm 27 and I've never really had a good relationship yet, and it's like I'm still not ready for one. But what am I gonna do? Wait until I'm 40?
Well, see, that's one
Yeah.
thing too that sticks on my mind, and then I stop, perseverating and thinking about
Right.
relationship stuff. Is it's just like I know I'm not going to be ready probably until I'm like 30.
Yeah, so it's not something you're going to want to think about too much, although it's really hard not to with that inferior FE always nagging at you,
Yeah,
knowing that it's a big thing missing in your life.
Sorry I didn't get you a soda. I got one for Spacey, but
I don't even drink soda, really.
I forgot to get one for you. This
Alright,
is a summer
thank you.
soda. It's what you might call a Arnold Spriter.
Okay.
It's Sprite, raspberry iced tea, and lemonade.
Oh, that sounds good. Alright.
So where are we in our conversation?
Oh, we were talking about relationships for a while, between kids. I don't know.
Did you tell him he needs to find an ESFJ
Yeah,
Kinda, yeah.
a little bit.
with really big boobs? Like important.
I don't know about that.
Well, you gotta remember, socionics says that our romance style is infantile, and we need a nurturing romance style. And what's more nurturing than big boobs?
I guess that's true. What's more nurturing than big boobs is someone that buys me food without asking me.
Right, that's true. That's a good trait. That's definitely an SFJ thing. So, what are your thoughts, hearing that you're an IHP and hearing us both sort of confirm that notion that you was probably one of several possibilities in your head? Now, you've got a tool function of extroverted intuition, so you're always going to be able to come up with other reasons why, potentially, it's still not definitive. Do you feel like it's going to impact your thinking substantially going forward to know that you're an INTP, or do you think it's you're still going to feel unsettled about it?
I mean, I can't really say. I don't know yet.
Okay.
It has been, I don't know. I've questioned it a lot over the past couple of years since I got into MBTI. Loosely got into it. I don't know. Now I'm a fanatic for sure. But like, I just kind of wanted to distinguish between NI, TI, and FI because when I take functions tests, I score high on most of the introverted functions.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't really know.
It's common for an INTP to score well on all three of those.
And SI too, if they were to test for it successfully, although they usually don't.
Right.
But the thing is, it's natural to expect an INTP to score high on both FI and TI because FI is a strong if undervalued and unconscious function for you. TI is your dominant nature. And then NI is demonstrative, 6 slot. And NI fits very well. Its aspect, the metaphysical aspect of NI, is very native to an INTP who's got TI, NE as the first two functions because the 6 slot metaphysical demonstrative NI is the same aspect as their dominant and their tool. As opposed to me, right? The aspect of my 6 slot is physical, TE. And the aspect of my two first functions is metaphysical. So my 6 slot function is more icky to me than your 6 slot function is to you in its native expression.
Mm.
Yeah, it makes us having that trinity of TI, NI, and FI is what often makes things so goddamn complicated.
It makes it hard for you to pull the trigger, make a decision, follow through on a course of action because you know it deliberatively via your TI, logical consistency. You know it deliberatively via your interested calculus as well, your FI. You know it metaphysically as a universal via your NI, and you know it via experience via your SI. And the combination of all four of those sort of being active concurrently makes you it makes you the opposite of doing shit.
That's the best description I think I've heard.
Right.
That they're all just butting heads.
Yeah.
Well, usually
the
your NI
introverted
and your
functions.
TI, usually your NI and your TI will agree. Your FI
Yeah,
should serve
yes.
your TI, but then your SI experiential shit makes it too many vectors to actually successfully calculate everything.
Right. So this is how it should be, but it's not how it's gone. And
Right.
and
I have to factor in how it's gone before and the reality of these chaotic elements in order to really truly be able to understand and or predict or whatever. Right. And that you never get to the spot where everything stays still long enough that you can really have it all parsed out.
Right, and until I successfully predict where I've been and where I am now and where I'm going and what I'm supposed to do, I can't do anything, right?
But the thing is, the good news is INTPs always do end up doing some things. In part because they involve themselves in relationships that produce some SE external framing of SE for them in some sort of way. Whether you're at a job, like if you're at a regular job, well, the social mores and other factors and need and whatever make it such that you do end up getting up in the morning and going to work. You don't just stay home, you know?
Yeah.
I would recommend to you, actually, if you don't know what you want to do for work and you don't really care about that, and you'd rather just work on your writing or whatever, I recommend just picking up a trade. Like,
Yeah.
be like a plumber or an electrician.
It's crossed my mind. They make pretty good money.
Yeah, just do it. Like, and it's more fun on the job too. Like, people aren't fucking. It's just no bullshit.
Yeah.
It's because
Well, the only thing,
they're asking
like
you to
my
do
job
things that
right
don't require
now.
decision making. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's fine. The way that it works is, I work at like a Goodwill donation place, and so we just sort stuff, and I basically get everything done as fast as possible, and then I just read in my free time,
Right.
and that's
I got you. Yeah.
something that I wouldn't really be able to do it with a trade job.
Ideally, you would just be self-employed or something and manage your time however you
Right.
want. But
Yeah,
and you really can't get away with reading on the job when you're a contractor.
no.
But
Typologist is a pretty good job.
it is a pretty good job. I enjoy it. I would like to do it full time.
We're getting there. We're getting there. Yeah, it's always a challenge for IHPs to figure out how to make themselves and their identity work, because they understand, like back in the day, in the Middle Ages, when people would say, well, I'm going to retreat to a life of scholarship or something, and it was just sort of respected, and they come from a good family and that's just what they do, or they'd go be a monk or whatever, there were viable avenues available for a life of study and contemplation without any particular utility. There really aren't that many viable options for that anymore, and so
You have to be marketable somehow, and that's hard for us, honestly,
right.
because we don't care about that.
And it's also hard for ENTPs too. It's like I'm very fortunate.
Can you hear us?
I think
No.
his phone went off.
Just disconnected for a little bit.
Okay.
There we go. And it's hard for ENTPs too. Like, I'm very fortunate to be in a situation where I can just sort of play around a lot, you know. So, but it's, for a lot of my life, I had to spend 60 hours a week or whatever working. And, when I was more in the heart of my career and shit. And, like, what happens is, of course, we get some sort of commitment that we're committed to, and then we start doing it, and then we start finding ourselves doing more and more, and then we realize, like, this isn't fulfilling, really. For you guys, I'm sure it's far more dramatic than that.
Yeah.
It's like, this not only isn't fulfilling, but it's
No, it's like I'm gonna go neck myself if I have to do this one more day. It is. But yeah, I just don't expect too much from yourself, I guess. Even though you're capable
I'm
of
not.
a lot. Yeah.
I'm not.
Right.
And
If something happens, it'll happen.
Yeah.
Right?
And when others say to you, you're not fulfilling your potential, you say, yeah, I am. I'm fulfilling my nature. My nature has the potential to leave lots of potential unfulfilled.
Right.
That's a critique that's what it means to be SE polar in part, is when people say to you, you aren't fulfilling your potential. Reflexively, until you learn about shit a bit and metacognate it, you don't push back. You go, okay,
Yeah.
I should feel bad about myself now, I guess.
Right.
That's what makes it a place of least resistance. You're not able to resist attack. Like I'm not able to, I mean, the thing is, and it can get you into big trouble too, because I would say that my current troubles, domestic troubles, and problems with conflict and stuff around here stem largely from my FI polar. There are things that I put up with, or just dealt with, or just ignored, or whatever, that were hurtful, that I should never have put up with or ignored or something. And then eventually, after a long time of being beaten about on that place of least resistance, I sort of found workarounds to understand what was happening and change the dynamics. But that place of least resistance is a good name for it, because people can really throw you around the room on it.
I would say I personally don't let people throw me around, but at the same time, if they point out something that's true, I agree with them. I don't know.
Yeah,
Well, it's a fine line, right? You have to, because you're considering your perspective and their perspective, and whether you might be biased and whether they might be biased, and probably 50 different other things that you may not be able to articulate. And that's, again, brings us back to that horrible TI-FI-SI-NI process, where we're like processing things in 3 or 4 different ways and then comparing it to other things that don't match up.
But the TI does mean that if you have a point that seems to win the argument chain and you don't have a response to it, you'll concede the thing. So it's like, if I go, okay, well, but but you didn't respond to that thing. Basically, what you were saying prior to that was, I'm maintaining my existing status regarding this matter until I think about it further. And then I said, yeah, but there's an argument on the flow that rebuts your existing status, and you haven't answered it yet. And then you conceded, okay, I'll concede externally that the status is formally rebutted and pending my rebuilding it, basically. And so, and that's very typical of, it's sort of a place of least resistance thing, right? I'm saying, I'm going to any SE this shit so that you are compelled to respond now rather than delaying and developing argumentation and responding later.
Right, that's what SE is able to do, to shake up things on the metaphysical plane, basically.
And you'll note that you didn't resist it. You said, "Yeah, okay." And that's a good thing amongst NTPs. That's a very good thing. We all look for each other to do that. To say, I'm going to be fair, and this is he's if his words are winning the fairness battle at the moment, then I'm going to have to go with that to make sure I'm winning the fairness battle within myself.
He's
If his words, and then I cut off.
Okay, yeah. It's basically, you're going to be like, well, if his words are winning the fairness battle right now, then I'm going to need to agree with them or rebut them. One of the two. At least tentatively agree that it's tentatively so until I do further thinking about it, for the sake of argumentation or something. Now, a lot of people who don't have SE polar or aren't TI users will go, no, I just don't agree. Well, you just want to win and just fucking, be little bitches about shit.
right.
Do you have any, well, did you have something to say?
No,
In the corner there.
Go ahead, please.
Do you have any tips for, I know from some of the videos that I've seen of yours that you prescribe debate as an activity, an intellectually stimulating activity, but are there other things that I could seek and do that would be fulfilling? Because at the moment it's mostly just nerdy things.
Probably not on the same
TV
level
shows,
that-
card games.
You need something that gives you the FE satisfaction. Like, what really is the ideal activity for Spacey? Spacey enjoys this, I think, more than I do even. I like it a lot. I like typing people. It's fun.
Right.
But I really think it's more fulfilling for Spacey. And I think it's more fulfilling for him because it's more of an FE payoff than an SI payoff. And that fourth slot, seeking FE, in some way you get more satisfaction from getting the fourth slot thing you're seeking than the third slot thing that's your scorecard.
Right.
You know, I don't feel like life's paying me off when I am getting in the bath and going right, oh, this is so comfortable. I just feel like I'm just actually getting paid off.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know. The thing is, what you need to do is something in which other people are appreciating your genius. That's the number one thing for an INTP.
Yeah.
Other people needing your genius and appreciating it when you provide it will provide all the impetus you need to go ahead and do things. Like,
Yeah.
and Spacey knows that he's making a big impact around the channel. That I'm getting a lot more typings than I used to get. And that it's not that it's hard to point to anything specific that he's done. It's just he's made me more on point in general just by being around, having somebody, people being watched perform better in general. Well, it depends on the type of person and shit, but whatever. So it's like,
Yeah.
I don't doubt that this is a gratifying situation for him to be in because he's getting FE, he's feeling like he's being, well, the whole potential thing, right? He's actually feeling like he is starting to live up to his potential more. The potential is being exploited for some good by other people, and so it helps them and makes him happy. Like I said the other day, well, I like it when I feel confident they think they've gotten their money's worth. And he said, well, I feel happy when I think that we've helped somebody. You see, it's like I'm saying I feel happy when I know that I'm not going to get any negative FE feedback on like overcharge. Like I'm not going to be subject to any of those attacks, and that it's a happy client means I did a good job or whatever, and that I am not, that everything business wise makes sense or whatever. He's actually concerned more about the human being, and you would be as well. And that is because the FE that you seek is a more primitive form of FE than the kind I seek. It's a more real form of FE in some sense.
I'm definitely finding that, like, you go ahead first.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Okay, I'm finding that, like, as far as school goes, I kind of just do it because the classes provide a place where I can engage and feel like a productive intellectual, I guess.
It's a good replacement
But I don't.
for SE.
You can
Yeah.
win.
Yeah,
Everybody can be impressed.
right. Like you can say, look at my good grades. See how good I'm doing.
And you can say,
Like,
Well,
Right.
look at my engagement with the professor. See how smart my question and comments are compared to everybody else's?
yeah. My grades they're not weak, but they're not as strong as they could be.
Well, it's probably just because you're not interested.
Are you not fulfilling your potential, young man?
I actually,
Oh, you are. Okay, good. That's good pushback.
Good pushback.
I actively skipped an exam because I knew that I would do well on the other ones and do stuff like that all the time, which is not
Oh yeah.
not the smartest thing to do, but
I've done the math. I can still get a B in this class and not take
Yes,
this thing.
exactly. Yeah, I would stop
one
doing
thing-
this school thing for now.
Wow.
yeah.
Do you have any questions or comments or directionality you'd like to direct the rest of the time we have?
He has more than time though.
Hmm?
Doesn't he have more time because you left?
Well, we're going to. We've got 15 minutes
Okay.
regardless.
Okay,
Yeah. I'm
whatever.
just saying. I'm asking him if he wants to answer any questions or challenge anything or direct the conversation.
I don't really have anything else on my mind. I mean, I would obviously enjoy talking about determinism more, but I have to scuttle over to my computer and jot down notes and stuff.
Right.
I don't know.
Well, like I said, come into the raw rooms later.
Parse it out.
There's plenty of
Yeah.
people in there who will be more than willing to talk to you about anything that you're interested in.
Yeah.
It's a very intellectually active group of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, regardless of anything else, let's stop the video now. Are you okay with me publishing this video?
Go for it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I
I mean-
appreciate it. This is
Yeah.
this is going to be a great contrast, and I'll say this before I stop the video. It's going to be a great example. It pairs so perfectly with the last video we put up, which was an introverted seeming ENTP versus you, an actual INTP. And I think there was a lot of probably inclination in the previous video, people thinking like, I think this guy might be an INTP, but I feel very confident he was an ENTP. And you, the contrast between you and him is quite stark and evident what
Yes.
the difference is. It's very, very beautifully laid out for everybody to see. So thank you for letting me publish.
Sweet. Yeah.